Greetings, everyone, and welcome. It is April the 15th, and I 100% stand behind my thumbnail, description, title, image, everything. And I'm going to get right to it with Volodymyr Zelenskyy meeting in Odessa today with Mark Rutte and NATO, looking at NATO possibilities, assistance, helping Ukraine, and he dropped the bombshell. Ukraine has finally openly stated their red line, and it is with perfect timing. In lieu of Witkoff's tragedy, they're meeting with Putin, coming back to Fox News, getting on Hannity, and spewing absolute garbage. Thank you for being here, sharing, liking, commenting. What's your opinion on what you're getting ready to see? Yesterday, I promised you Lavrov. I've got that as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I really believe this week is critical for Ukraine and for where things are going to wash out as we see the United States and Russian relationship grow even stronger. Facts only video. Here we go. Thank you very much for being here. Zelenskyy red line. Ukraine is a sovereign state and only the Ukrainian people can speak about its territory. For us, these are red lines to recognize any temporarily occupied territories as not Ukrainian but Russian. Therefore, again, the relevant representatives are discussing issues outside of their competence. Let me interpret that for you. Witkoff is a clown sent by the clown-in-chief in regard to negotiating Ukraine's future in this world, and anything they say is not recognized and irrelevant. Here's the video.
For the territories, Ukraine is a sovereign state and all territories belong to the unitary state of Ukraine. So again, only the Ukrainian people can decide about our state's territories. You know, it's a red line for us to recognize any occupied territories as Russian, not Ukrainian. So again, those representatives you mentioned are discussing matters beyond their authority.
Those representatives are discussing things beyond their authority. Witkoff. That's exactly who he's talking about, and I'm going to validate that for you. I'm sure many of you have seen it, but those of you that are not watching American media, you're not going to believe what you're getting ready to hear come out of Witkoff's mouth. Now, he was meeting in Odessa with Mark Rutte and NATO, and very important here, this is going to play a critical key role in this week. And in response to Witkoff's trash being spewed on American television, will Ukraine become a member of NATO? Mark Rutte, Secretary General on Ukrainian TV, interviewed, yes, absolutely, this path is irreversible. Now you have a conflict that will grow, set up between NATO and the United States and the Trump administration. That will cause a rift. That one statement, be watching for it this week. Of course, this NATO, the European side, and the other nations standing with Ukraine while the United States, and yes, we've given a lot, but now Europe has actually passed the United States in factual giving to Ukraine since this full-scale invasion. We have a conflict coming between NATO, Rutte's statements, and Trump administration. You will hear it, and all of this playing perfectly into the hands of Vladimir Putin. Now, let's march on, to Steve Witkoff. You can see him there. That was his picture from his last conversations with Vladimir Putin. And here are the basics, and then I will play the video. The peace agreement is about the so-called, and I underline that, 5 territories, but it involves much more. There are security protocols. There, no NATO, no Article 5. So let me explain this before you hear it. Basically, what the United States through Witkoff is offering is everything pro-Russian narrative. No fault to Russia. There will be no reparations for Russia. Remember, it was Trump himself saying that the strike on Sumy was a mistake. He knows, he has his sources. But basically what you have, instead of Ukraine getting security guarantees in the future, we're actually giving security guarantees to Russia, the NATO, the NATO adversary. We're giving security protocols to the invading nation. You'll hear it come right out of Witkoff's mouth. This is what they're talking about. And this is why President Zelensky said, no way, man, this is a red line. A lot of complicated details. And I think we could be on the verge of something that would be very, very important for the world as a whole. Furthermore, I believe there is an opportunity to transform the relationship between Russia and the United States through some very compelling commercial opportunities that will also provide real stability in the region. Arctic rare earth minerals and the Trump tariffs have destroyed the global economy because of the dealings with China and how that is unfolding. Therefore, United States economically and Russia can do some great things together in the future. This is what we're talking about. It's unbelievable, just sweeping Ukraine right off of the map. Okay, here you go, guys. This is it.
I think you used a very good word there, Sean, emerging.
Emerging.
I do. This is the third meeting I've had with him. This last meeting lasted close to 5 hours. We had two of his key advisors in the room at the time, Witkoff and Kirill Dmitriev. And it was a compelling meeting. And towards the end, we actually came up with, and I'm going to say finally, but I don't mean it in the way that we were waiting. I mean it in the way that it took a while for us to get to this place. What Putin's request is to have a permanent peace here. So beyond a ceasefire, we got an answer to that.
Okay, and will the deal include things that maybe are out of the box that people aren't thinking about now? I would imagine Vladimir Putin probably would want to be in business with the U.S. and with Europe. Is that a potential that could come out of this?
There's no doubt about it. I mean, this peace deal is about these so-called 5 territories, but there's so much more to it. There's security protocols. There's no NATO, Article 5. I mean, it's just, a lot of detail attached to it. It's a complicated situation, rooted in some real problematic things happening between the two countries, and I think we might be on the verge of something that would be very, very important for the world at large. On top of that, I believe there's a possibility to reshape the Russian-United States relationship through some very compelling commercial opportunities that I think give real stability to the region too. Partnerships create stability.
Yeah, so we're just going to partner with the invading evil nation, and there's going to be some great things, great business in the future for the United States and Russia and Europe and Russia. It's very complicated, no doubt. These so-called 5 territories, guys, all the bullets are right there. This is exactly what that man said. And that is why Zelensky himself came out and declared, red line, unauthorized representative, speaking for us, no way. Done deal, shut it down. Now, in addition to that, guys, the United States has told the G7 allies that it would not support a statement condemning Russia's strike on Sumy because it wants to continue negotiations with Russia. So no condemnation on the strike in Sumy that killed and wounded so many. This is absolutely disgusting what we are witnessing come from the United States. And I am an American and I love my country, but I am so disgusted with this in regard to Ukraine. Lavrov on task, as I shared with you in the video yesterday. I told you it was coming. Putin, he talks about Putin's 2024 speech. He talks about how all the referendums in the 4 territories were free and fair referendums, UN approved, international observation, and Russia is not backing down. This comes out at the same time we're hearing the Witkoff statements come out. So the question is now needing to be asked. Are they just colluding together to put out these narratives at the same time? For me, whether it's accidental or on purpose, it's absolutely the destination that the Trump administration envoy Witkoff wants to get to. And of course, it's the destination that Vladimir Putin wants to get to. Here it is. Here's Lavrov speaking. I voiced it over for you. What aspects do Moscow and Washington now agree on? The answer right away is a no to the last question about the key components of a settlement. They're not easy to agree on. They are being discussed. There are no secrets. And from our side, President Putin on June 14th of the last year, speaking at the ministry, laid out a very clear principle on which such a long-term settlement that would be reliable and just, taking into account, first of all, the interest of the people there, guaranteeing the rights of the people, especially the minorities, according to the UN Charter. It was all laid out. This is not some kind of requesting position, because I stress again, it is firmly based on the UN Charter. There have been numerous conventions, and on the results of referendums, the results were expressed clearly by the people on those territories that we are speaking about. First of all, it is Donbass, of course, Novorossiya, the 4 regions that after the will of the people was expressed under international monitoring, the decision was made to return to their big motherland, in this case, the Russian Federation. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the exact narrative that Putin is telling Witkoff, and that's why Witkoff is coming back with this information. It's the people's desire. There's internal conflicts. You know, you have the Donbass region and the Novorossiya region, which is the 4 regions they're referring to. He doesn't call them by name. Now they're calling them the Donbass, which it is the Donbass region, Lugansk and Donetsk region, Zaporizhia and Kherson. Of course, no mention of Crimea, because in their mind, Crimea is already theirs when they stole that years ago through the annexation. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can see the narrative has changed, and this is why I'm suggesting this week is vitally important, because we're even starting to see some cracks in the Trump team in regard to how Trump and Witkoff are handling Russia. Just some minor cracks. I'll share that with you in just a moment. Now, we do have a statement coming out from Dmitry Peskov. He has stated Washington and Moscow are working hard for peace in Ukraine, while Europe continues to work for war. This is the Kremlin spokesperson, by the way. Easy to see, and there are no scheduled meetings between Trump and Putin at this point. We are on task, Peskov. We're on task. 3 meetings between Witkoff and Putin puts us on task. This is why today Zelenskyy dropped the red line. Finally, crack in the team, I think, just starting to appear. Kellogg, Rubio, and they won't say much, guys. I mean, Kellogg may say much more than Rubio. Rubio is going to try to hold on to his Secretary of State position that Witkoff has now been given because Trump trusts Witkoff. So that is why Witkoff is negotiating the 2 hottest places on the planet right now, which is the war in Ukraine and the impending enlargement of the war in Israel with Iran and the United States being involved. So instead of sending the nominated and approved Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Witkoff is running around the world doing everything for the Secretary of State position. So Rubio has stated, hey, we need to adjust our position a little bit here on Russia, not liking how this is going. Kellogg saying the same thing. So very possible Kellogg will be kind of taken out of the picture here pretty soon, I believe. And we will continue to see the role of the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, unfold as Witkoff is Trump's guy. He's Trump's guy running around the planet, spreading lies, spreading false narratives, and doing nothing but confirming the madness that is inside Trump's brain in regard to Ukraine. So there you have it, guys. Thank you for being here. Please share this video. This is like some really, really timely, on task, translated, explained. What are your comments? What are your thoughts? Thank you for sharing it. And thank you for joining our hope train. We have a great Discord, great team members, great everything. Just thank you for all your support and care. And we'll be back at you because I really believe this week is critical. Thank you guys. Be blessed.